I arrive at UCL, University College London with a heart full of hope and a suitcase heavy with family name and gold. I imagine marble halls, bright minds, and a future that gleams like sunrise over the Thames. Yet the first step into the main lobby shatters that dream. The marble tiles are spotless, but the air smells of cheap coffee and stale ambition. My mind tells me that a clean space should invite learning, but the lack of warmth makes the building feel like a museum of neglect. In my first lecture, I sit among rows of students and listen to a professor who speaks as if the words are tangled in fog. The instructions for the assignment are vague, like a cloud without shape. I spend hours trying to decode what is expected, and the time I lose could have been spent reading, researching, or simply enjoying the city. When I ask for help, the professor is busy, his eyes flicker past me, and his voice is distant. This is bad because a teacher who cannot give clear guidance leaves students confused, anxious, and doubting their own abilities. It erodes confidence and wastes precious time that could be used for growth. I try to find a mentor to sit one-on-one, but the professors are like ghosts slipping through corridors, never staying long enough to answer a simple question. The lack of personal contact means I cannot build a network, cannot receive advice that steers my career, and I am left to wander alone in a sea of faces. This isolation is a silent cruelty that turns education into a hollow performance. The academic support offices promise help but deliver generic replies. Emails return with polite sentences that do not answer my concerns about mental health, about visa paperwork, about module changes. The delay in feedback feels like a slow drip of indifference. When I finally receive a response, it is vague, saying we will look into it without any timeline. This is harmful because a student in need of urgent assistance is left in limbo, stressed, and forced to make decisions with incomplete information. Living in the college accommodation feels like a nightmare. The rooms are damp, the walls exhale mold, the heating never turns on even in a cold November night. Toilets are filthy, the tiles cracked, and the smell of mildew clings to everything. When I call maintenance, they promise to send someone, yet no one arrives. The neglect of basic comforts is more than an inconvenience. It damages health, lowers morale, and turns a place meant for study into a prison of discomfort. The cost of tuition looms like a mountain. International students pay 5 times more than local students, yet the scholarships offered are few. I watch as wealthy peers from abroad are treated as cash cows, their money feeding research that never benefits their own learning. The disparity creates resentment, fuels inequality, and tells a story that the institution cares more for profit than for education. I encounter a protest on the lawn. A group of activists set up tents, cook meals, and laugh loudly. Their presence blocks the path to the library and the graduate cafe. I understand the desire to be heard, but the constant occupation of public space prevents ordinary students from using facilities that they pay for. The university's failure to mediate this tension leaves both sides frustrated, and the campus atmosphere becomes charged with tension rather than scholarly calm. My application for a Master's program becomes a saga of silence. I send email after email, each pleading for a decision before the course starts. The staff answer with "your application is under review," and then with no reply for weeks. On the day the course begins, I call again and am told a decision will be made soon. Hours later, the portal changes to unsuccessful, as if a switch was flipped arbitrarily. The sudden rejection after a long wait feels like a betrayal, stripping me of confidence and wasting the time I spent preparing. It shows a system that lacks respect for a plea.
Kantz treats them like numbers and damages the reputation of fairness. The bureaucracy spreads like an endless maze, forms multiply, each requiring signatures that never arrive. Registration errors delay access to online resources, and funding letters are sent late, causing me to scramble for visas. Each obstacle stacks upon the previous, creating a tower of stress that crushes the spirit. When institutions prioritize paperwork over people, students feel invisible and undervalued. I notice that the library, once a sanctuary of quiet, is always crowded. Seats are occupied by groups shouting, and the noise makes concentration impossible. The outdated computers crash often, and the Wi-Fi flickers, leaving me unable to download articles. These technical failures are more than minor annoyances. They interrupt study, lower academic performance, and increase anxiety. In the cafeteria, the food is bland, the trays greasy, the smell of overcooked vegetables filling the air. The meals lack nutrition and the pricing is high for such poor quality. Eating becomes a chore, not a nourishment. Nourishment, 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 nourishment.
Businesses near University College London are frankly a mixed bag, leaning heavily toward disappointment. If you expect charm, efficiency, or even basic competence, prepare to lower those expectations. The area is riddled with establishments that seem allergic to customer satisfaction, where problems aren't exceptions, they're the standard. Let's start with shopping centres. The experience is less retail therapy and more retail trauma. Westfield London, for example, is a masterclass in frustration. The toilets, a gamble. Multiple reviews mention empty soap dispensers, broken lifts, and a bizarre refusal by staff to acknowledge these issues. One parent had to change a baby on a counter because the changing facilities were either missing or a 10-minute trek away. The parking system, a labyrinth designed to confuse and overcharge. Cars get stuck, machines fail, and attendants shrug. It's as if the entire place runs on the hope that customers will just give up. Then there's the wellness scene, specifically Cloud 12 Spa. If you're paying premium prices, you'd expect premium service. Instead, you get therapists who ignore requests, greasy hair from poorly executed treatments, and in one baffling case, a staff member offering marijuana to a guest. Booking mix-ups are common and the response is usually indifference. The only thing deep about their massages is the disappointment. Hungry, Roti King might tempt you with its reputation, but the reality is underwhelming. Portions are laughably small. Imagine paying for a meal and receiving 3 spoonfuls of curry. The roti can be tough, the meat chewy, and the hygiene questionable, with multiple reports of food poisoning. The cramped space means you'll be elbow to elbow with strangers, praying no one spills their underwhelming laxer on you. Need caffeine? Store Street Espresso is where good coffee goes to die. The baristas act like they're doing you a favor by serving lukewarm, overpriced drinks. No Wi-Fi, no sockets, just you, your dying laptop battery, and the crushing realization that you could have made better coffee at home. For entertainment, Bloomsbury Lanes promises fun but delivers misery. Bowling without bumpers means endless gutter balls and frustrated kids. The staff, unhelpful, the lanes, often double booked. The vibe, less retro chic, more abandoned arcade. And if you're unlucky enough to land in the Kingpin suite, expect deafening music and zero sympathy for sensory sensitivities. Shopping at Goodhood Online is like throwing money into a void. Orders vanish, refunds are mythical, and customer service is a ghost story. One buyer described their jacket arriving crammed into a dirty box. No padding, no care, just pure neglect. Bars like Simmons Soho. Overpriced, understaffed, and staffed by people who seem to despise you. Happy hour cocktails taste suspiciously like they came from a plastic jug, and bouncers treat misunderstandings as personal offenses. One group was charged £38 for a few shots, no receipt, no explanation, just a drunk tax. In summary, businesses near UCL are a parade of mediocrity. Poor management, apathetic staff, and a general sense that no one cares. If you must venture here, bring patience, low expectations, and maybe a packed lunch. The only thing you're guaranteed to leave with is a story about how things went wrong. You know, I've been looking into crimes near UCL, University College London, and it's really sad, you know. There are so many scams and frauds happening in this area. Have you heard about LR Price Publications Limited? It's this storefront publisher near UCL, and oh my god, they race so bad. They've been ripping off authors, over 100 of them, by taking their money and not publishing their books. Can you believe it? They even threatened authors with lawsuits when they tried to get their money back. It's how can you do this to people? I predict that the authors were so devastated when they found out they'd been scammed. They probably felt like they'd been robbed of their dreams, you know. And the publisher, they probably thought they could get away with it, but now they're in trouble. They even tried to close down the company, but it's too late, the damage is done. And then there's this charity storefront scam near UCL. Scammers were using a real company's name to collect money and goods, saying it was for charity, but really they were just taking it for themselves. It's like, how could you do this to people who are trying to help others? It's so wrong. I predict that the people who donated thought they were doing a good deed, but really, they were just lining the scammers' pockets. They probably felt so guilty and angry when they found out they'd been scammed. And the scammers, they probably thought they could get away with it, but now they ray in trouble. It's like, why can't people just be honest and do good things? Things, 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 things.